last class, or you were one of those people that were absent. Don't worry, because the people around you are going to help you today. Okay? So no worries. Landis, you were gone for how long? 3 weeks. You'll be fine. You have read the story. You're up to date on the reading, right? And you're really intelligent, so I know you're going to be right on track. Today is a culmination of everything we've been learning is going to come to life, which is really cool because our Theodore Boone Kid Lawyer books have provided us with such great information that we didn't know about, like a plaintiff and a defendant and opening statement. Did anybody know what any of those were before we started this book? Okay, 2 or 3 of you out of 19, hands down. So now everything that we learned, we're going to see live in a courtroom trial today. Okay? Now, if you've done your homework with your case study, you have a great background of what's going on in the trial. But before we get started, I want to start by showing you a courtroom. Raise your hand if you've never seen a courtroom before. Never.
Real life?
Real life? Okay. Well, this is as close to real life as we're going to get today, but I want to point out some things to you, just so you have an idea once the simulation starts of who is in what role, where they sit, and what's going on. So up here, who knows who sits there? The judge. Yep. And when the judge starts the court proceedings, he will say, the bailiff will say, all rise. Just like that. Oh, we don't interrupt. You can raise your hand though. All right, sit. Once the court's in session, it must be silent. Okay? You can communicate with each other. I will put scratch paper on your tables if you would like to communicate when the judge is talking, or you can communicate through an app that we learned about the other day. It's called Today's Meet. Okay? So those are your options. All right. Now, next to the judge is where the witnesses go. I remember when Sophie's dad visited us that day, a lot of you were like, where did the witnesses go? Well, they sit there right next to the judge, and the lawyers come up and they ask them questions. Now, on the plaintiff's side, if it's their witness, they do questioning first because they're the plaintiff. The plaintiff is one that is in control of the case. Miss Winters, can I ask you to step up here, please? Sure. Miss Winters was riding her bike nice and innocently, and it got broken. She also hurt her wrist. She got some bruises, and her bike doesn't operate anymore. So she is the one that filed the claim against Mr. Ramirez. Mr. Ramirez, please stand up. Mr. Ramirez needs to prove that he is innocent today. Okay? All right. So both sets of lawyers will be providing witnesses and asking questions. All right. Can you have a seat, Mrs. Winters? Thank you. All right. What else do we need to see why it's extremely important? Because if we didn't have it, Mrs. Winters, in this case, would have a broken bicycle and $150 in medical bills for her wrist and her bruises. So by going to court, she might be able to get that money back if the jury finds Mr. Ramirez guilty. Okay? All right. So what I want you to do first is before we even go to trial, it doesn't matter who you're defending. It doesn't matter what team you're on. I would like you to go to Today's Meet. It's on the iPad. It's already set up. And put in your opinion if you think, if you think Mr. Ramirez is guilty or not guilty. Go ahead and do that now. This is what it looks like. Now remember, Sophie's dad said that all courtrooms are different. The one that I just showed you is going to be a little bit different than the one we're about to enter. Now, we have 2 teams. We have our plaintiff team, which is our girls, and we have our defendant team, which is our boys. And we are ready to go. Okay, the defense team, you represent the driver. Your job today is to convince the jury that the driver was not at fault in the accident. Plaintiff, you represent the bicyclist. Your job today is to convince the jury that the driver is at fault. You should also present evidence of your bicyclist injuries and losses.
All rise. This court is now in session. The Honorable Daniel Banks presiding.
Good day, members of the jury, counsel. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your services in this case. Your job is an important one. Both parties to this case care very much about the outcome of this trial, and it will be up to you to deliver a fair and just verdict. Your job is to listen to all the evidence in the case without forming an opinion. After all the evidence is in, I will instruct you on the law that you are to apply, and then it will be up to you to deliberate and reach a verdict. This trial will begin with opening statements by each side. Please remember that these statements are not evidence for you to consider. They are just an opportunity for the attorneys to explain what evidence they will be presenting.
Okay, the benefits of that opening statement. What are we looking for? What are we looking for to present in our opening statement? Do we want to present witnesses? No. Do we want to present evidence? Look at the list quietly by yourself. You will share a list with your partner. And then in about 30 seconds, I will have you begin talking and discussing it. First, read every item. Go ahead and do that now. Make sure everybody agrees, okay? Did everybody agree? You can circle them and I'll take your papers. Please give them to Ms. Winters when you're done.
If the plaintiff has A, and all the rest of the are the case. If doesn't have bring up evidence. Yeah, the plaintiff. How would they say something good about the bike rider? Wait.
Okay, so B is an eyewitness never saw the plaintiff take her feet off the pedal. An eyewitness, it doesn't tell who it is, never saw her put off
But
the
there's
pedal.
a break. You don't need to take your feet off. But they never said. That's hearsay. Yeah, but yeah, that's hearsay.
Maybe we shouldn't talk about witnesses. It says an eyewitness, it doesn't say a witness.
An eyewitness is still a witness.
Right.
In my eyes.
If it's hearsay, okay, we're going to go with the 3 that you felt were most important to present. When I click continue, a lawyer representing each side of you will present these to the jury, and you will receive points based on the accuracy.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the evidence in this case will show that on Friday, March 3rd of this year, the defendant left work at 6:15 p.m. Shortly after getting into his car, the defendant called his girlfriend to let her know that he would be late. While on the phone, he took his eyes off the road to look at the construction of a building he designed. It was at this moment that he came screeching around a turn, and the plaintiff, Suzanne Winters, was in his path. He slammed on his brakes. Moment that he came screeching around a turn, and the plaintiff, Suzanne Winters, was in his path. He slammed on his brakes. It was then that she was struck by the defendant's car and thrown to the ground. The evidence will show that the defendant was solely responsible for this accident. He was speeding. He was not paying attention to the road, and his negligence injured my client and destroyed her new bicycle.